Hey, how's it going? It's your boy Chiefs Rays Bolts here, joined alongside my boy Kasey over here, A'sRaidersDubsSharks. This seems to be a pretty occasional thing now, doing one of these pre-recorded stream style videos, except it's not actually being live streamed. But today we're going to go over the Seattle expansion draft. The Kraken get to choose their team today. So we're just going to talk a little bit about it, give our thoughts and opinions. As far as our team's side of things goes. So we'll just start off with you, Kasey. What's going to happen with the Sharks here?
Yeah, so obviously the Sharks in the past decade have been a great team, but as of late, recently in the last couple of years, we haven't. We haven't been relevant. If you're not a Sharks fan, you probably haven't heard anything about the Sharks because we're just not the same team we used to be. But the thing the Sharks have always thrived on is having a core, right? You've heard the names Joe Thornton, Brent Burns, Marlowe, all these guys. And although we haven't been able to keep all of them, such as Thornton, we have that core, which is like Carlson, Hurdle, Couture, our captains, all that. But I think looking at the protected list, I think they did the right guys as far as who to keep. I mean, we got a new goalie just like 3 days ago, Aiden Hill from the Coyotes, and I think him being on the protected list is important. But I think some I disagree with because some guys that were actually good last year, such as Curtis Gabriel, Dylan Gambrell, are not on the list. And I mean, I don't think necessarily they're going to get picked, but you never know. I mean, Vegas had a very good picking when they did their expansion draft. So I think, for the Kraken, they're probably going to try to get a goaltender. And the fact that Martin Jones, our initial goaltender, is not protected, he could go to Seattle. I've heard talks about that. But yeah, how about you with the Lightning? What are you thinking?
Well, okay, so there are only two NHL teams that chose the four skaters, four defensemen, one goalie route. So, like most teams, there 27 to be exact, did the 11 skater protected list where it's seven forward, three defensemen, one goalie. Lightning and Predators were the only two teams that went four defensemen, four forwards, one goalie, and there's a good reason for
Right.
that because if we didn't go that route, then we would have lost a piece of our defense. We would have lost a defenseman, probably Ryan McDonough. And when I woke up the morning that the protected lists were revealed, like the first thing on my mind was as I woke up was, please don't expose McDonough. Please don't expose McDonough. Because like McDonough is such a huge piece of the defense. I didn't want to lose any of our defensive players. Sergachev is our worst guy on defense. And that says a lot because I think any team in the NHL would gladly take Sergachev on their D. So it was very, very crucial, in my opinion, for the Lightning to keep that defensive core intact to the roster. And so I'm really happy with the route they took there. As
Right.
for the four skaters we chose, I was kind of on the fence at first about them choosing Anthony Cirelli over Yanni Gourde. I love Yanni Gourde. He has an unreal motor. Like I don't know how he does it. Like he goes out and he doesn't slow down at all. Like he could play the whole game if he wanted to. He must have a supply of crack before the game because like he is just
Yeah.
nonstop. It's wild. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. So at first I was
Yeah.
very iffy about Anthony Cirelli over Yanni Gourde, but I've heard a lot of good points from other Lightning fans. Anthony Cirelli is a great two-way player. He can you get the best of both worlds with Anthony Cirelli, whereas with Gourde you only get that offensive powerhouse. No, not powerhouse, but like, he's fast, he's a pain in the ass. If Yanni Gourde was on the opposing team, I would hate that because he's so aggressive with the puck and he's so aggressive on the back checks and the forechecks and just I love Yanni Gourde. But I mean we had to keep the defense intact.
Yeah.
So we choose Sorelli, and then the other three are obvious: Stamkos, Kucherov, Point. Come on, I mean that was obvious. I mean those are our main three guys, and then you choose Sorelli as the fourth.
Mhm.
If I had to guess, it's easily going to be one of these three guys. It's either going to be Yanni Gourde. Um, well, I'm having a blank moment here. It was Yanni Gourde. Oh, right. Yanni Gourde, Andre Palat, or Alex Killorn. It's going to be one of those three guys. It's
Yeah.
it's just going to be. I mean, there's no way around it. All three of those guys I have absolutely loved on the Tampa Bay Lightning for the last several years. So it's going to be
Yep.
sad when one of those guys goes. But even if the Kraken didn't have, even if there was no expansion draft, we'd still have to get rid of one of those guys just to stay under the cap. So it's sad, but it's business at the end of the day. And so it happens to everybody at some point. And it's about to happen to the Lightning. We already lost Goodrow a couple days ago, traded him to the
Yeah.
Rangers. I can promise you Coleman's not going to return either, which means our entire third line is probably going to be gone if Seattle takes Gord. And the third line was a huge part of the 2 cup runs for Tampa, so it's going to be sad to see them go. But if I had to guess right now, Yanni Gord is probably who Seattle takes, unless the Lightning can pull some black magic out of their asses last second and tell Seattle, hey, if you take Tyler Johnson, which honestly I would love that because Tyler Johnson, like, yeah, he's been with our team for a long time, but he's on the lower end of the skill when it comes to the roster. So if you could get Seattle to take Tyler Johnson for a bribe, like say like a 2023 second round pick, if we even have that, then that would be great too. But again, we also have to stay under the cap. So, say it again. I think it's going to be Yanni Gordon. I think it's going to suck to see him go because he's one of my favorite players right now on the Lightning. And that is where I stand with that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, obvious statement, but when you won back-to-back cups, obviously super hard to do. Your team is so good that they're just going to have eyes on them, the Kraken, right? So with the Sharks on my end of things, it's a little bit different because when I look at the available list, there's a bunch of guys on here, honestly, I've never even heard of that just got, oh, nice trophy there. Yeah, that just got up from the AHL. Like the Sharks have literally minor leaguers in this unprotected list. Most of them, actually. I mean, I bet most teams do because, they want to fill those gaps. But with you, obviously, back-to-back cups, the Lightning are going to be, the pivotable team. That's just how it is. And I mean, with Vegas, they're probably looking at the Penguins a lot. I mean, they got Fleury, so because they were the, back-to-back champs at that point, right? So it's kind of crazy that back-to-back champs and then an expansion draft 2 times in a row with the Lightning and Penguins. But, the Penguins, lost Fleury and look at him now. So I think with the Sharks, it's, kind of funny because we have, the Ryan Donato available, who was not great last year. We have Curtis Gabriel, Dylan Gambrell, and these guys aren't very well known, but these are guys who are actually pretty pivotal in our team. Patrick Marleau is available, and I highly doubt he'd go there because, he's in his 40s. And like I said, Martin Jones. But so I think, for us, losing a guy is like kind of more important because, we're not a very good team at the moment. But for you guys, losing a player is like losing a big part of it because, you won back-to-back cups. So I think, with Seattle, they're going to benefit from the good teams and they're also going to benefit from the bad teams because bad teams are only going to be able to keep so many good players, So, yeah.
Yeah. I think every team here. What happened with the Sharks in the 2017 expansion? Did you lose anybody big, or did you just kind of? Who'd you lose?
Not I think it was geez, I'm it's on the tip of my tongue. It was some random bench guy that we really never saw. It might have been like a third line player. I don't think he
Okay,
was very
so
good.
we both got pretty lucky then in the 2017 expansion draft because
Yeah,
Vegas took Jason Garrison from us, and I bet most people have never even heard of him before. So we
right.
got pretty fortunate with that one, but there's no way we luck out twice in a row like that. There's some big names
Yeah.
out there on the table, like the biggest one out there being Carey Price. It's
Oh yeah.
smart. It's smart for Montreal because they know
Yeah.
Seattle isn't going to take. They know Seattle isn't going to take that gigantic contract, and it just gives Montreal an extra slot to protect an extra player. So I think
Yeah.
a lot of people would be shocked if Seattle actually took Price. Could it happen? Of course it could. But I don't expect it though. Another big
Yeah.
name out there is Vladimir Tarasenko, and I think that they're probably going to take him from St. Louis because
Yeah.
they got to get a big name guy from there, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Vegas chose Marc-Andre Fleury. That was their first big name guy in
Yeah.
their expansion drive. There's going to be another one here. Probably, in all likeliness, is going to be Tarasenko. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, a lot's going to
Yeah.
happen. It's going to be really interesting to watch all of it unfold. It's not a seasonal thing. I mean, this is something that we had in 2017, we had now, but before then, it wasn't since like 2007, something like that. So like, it's been quite some time since there's
Right.
been an opportunity. It's just fun from a fan perspective to see
Yeah.
a new franchise enter the league and just build their team while the whole while the whole like league's fan base watches. So it'll be interesting. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Not looking forward to
Yeah.
losing Yanni Gord, but looking forward to watching them assemble their team. Do you
Yeah.
think the Kraken are going to pull a Vegas and make it at least to the playoffs in their first year?
I think so. I actually kind of thought about this a lot because they're going to be in our division. So I think the playoffs isn't a long shot. I think they could make the playoffs because our division, besides Vegas, is not that good. I mean, we have Vancouver, we have Calgary, we got Edmonton, and I mean, the three Canadian teams in our division. I think the only one out of the three, Edmonton, is pretty good. We got the other two California teams, Anaheim and LA, who are pretty bad. We have us, who are pretty bad, but I think we have potential. So I think they have a chance. I mean, you just have to get top three. So I think Seattle has a chance. I don't know necessarily if it'll be in the first year, but I think they have a chance. But also, I learned to answer your question. I learned that the Sharks lost David Schlemko to the Vegas Golden Knights. A dude I've hardly heard of. But I think he's moved around a lot. So I think we were both pretty lucky on that front. And yeah, I mean, back to the David Price thing. Um, the Sharks kind of did the same thing, but opposite. So obviously Erik Karlsson, the name, used to be one of the best defensemen in the league, but now is not, and he's on a crazy long contract. I thought the Sharks would do the same thing that the Canadians did, like put him out unprotected, kind of use him as bait, and like kind of protect another guy, but they didn't end up doing that. But yeah, back to your point. I mean, I don't think that the Kraken will maybe make it the first year just because I think having Vegas in the division, that's an automatic playoff team. And then you have other competitive teams. But I think they got a shot at it. I don't know if it'll be necessarily, finals contention like the Knights did and go on a crazy run like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they made the playoffs as like the number 3 team in the division. How about you? What do you think on that?
Right. Well, nobody expected Vegas to go as far as they did in their first year. It's just the way it was. You looked at the stats
Yeah.
of all their inaugural roster players. Like they compared the stats from that inaugural Vegas season versus all those players previous year, like with all those other teams, and almost every single player on that roster just completely turned it around. Like just completely, like just they did so much better than they did the previous year, and it was really insane to look at. Like you would never have expected it. So
Right.
there's really no safe bets. Like I think Seattle making the finals is just as realistic as them finishing dead last in the division. Like you don't know until you watch the season unfold.
Yeah.
We all watched the Golden Knights the first year, and even now, the Golden Knights have played 4 full seasons. Their worst season in their franchise history was losing in the first round to the Sharks, and that's a pretty good history. If your worst season
Yeah.
is losing in the first, like at least you made the playoffs, right? Like there are so many teams. Well, obviously because they have so much more history that just they year in year out can't make the playoffs. So I mean, the fact that Vegas has sustained so much success in their first couple seasons as a franchise is insane. I don't know if we're gonna see it with Seattle, but again, we'll just have to wait and watch it unfold.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And, I think them being put in that division definitely helps. And I think the way that it was for, the Knights, they were pretty fortunate because I mean, the year they went to the finals, they kind of benefited off the division also. I mean, that first year they beat the Sharks, they beat us in the first round. And then they, had to play some other tough teams. But I think for them, they kind of got all the pieces to drop in the right place. They got a great goalie, and I think that's going to be crucial for the Kraken, getting that good goalie, an established goaltender. So I think, I've seen many different predictions from, reliable sources. I've heard, Martin Jones of the Sharks could even go to the Kraken, which, I'd be pretty happy with because, the contract issues. I've heard Carey Price. I've heard, correct me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, Dreiger from the Florida Panthers. Um, the, yeah, the goalie. I've heard Ben Bishop from the Dallas Stars. I mean, I think the goal.
that's another big name on that list was Ben Bishop,
Yeah,
but he's
yeah,
on a pretty big contract as well. I know he signed like an 8-year, like maybe 3 4 years ago, so he's probably like close to
yeah,
halfway done on that contract. But they protected Hudobin over Bishop, which just shows. I mean, when Bishop was with the Lightning, he was hurt all the time, so that's a big factor. Is the
yeah,
dude just being made out of glass?
yeah. I've heard Malcolm Subban on there from the Chicago Blackhawks. Like I've heard of a different variety of goaltenders, and I think it's kind of interesting because I mean I don't know if the Lightning can really necessarily relate to this because Vasilevsky is just so good, but a lot of the good teams have two really good goaltenders. I mean, you look at the Penguins with Murray and Fleury, right? They took Fleury because he was unprotected, right? So I think if the Kraken really want to benefit, they got to look at teams for goalies that are just make deep playoff runs with a two goalie tandem. Like a team like the Vegas Golden Knights with Lehner and Fleury, right? So I think that's really important. Just getting that goaltender, and
Yeah.
I think that's why they
Hmm.
might take Martin Jones. We just got Aiden Hill, who is I think is a pretty good goalie from the Coyotes. So maybe Martin Jones will be taken. We'll see. So yeah,
Yeah, another good double goalie tandem in the playoffs. And it wasn't a double; it was a triple goalie tandem in the playoffs. Was the
yeah,
Florida Panthers? You had Bobrovsky, you had Spencer Knight, and then you had I forget the other guy's name, but he did most of the starts for the Panthers in the playoffs. It
right.
was now I'm really intrigued. I should remember his name because we had to face him a couple times. Um, but
Yeah, correct me if
yeah,
I'm wrong, but the Islanders have a pretty good two goalie tandem too, right? I mean, they have
Varlamov and somebody else.
yeah, Sorokin, right?
Sorokin. Okay. Yeah, we
Yeah,
just had
and
to
they're
play
so we'll see.
Varlamov in the playoffs, but yeah, it was. You know what? Maybe I'm just thinking of somebody else because I could have swore it was Bobrovsky, it was Spencer Knight, and I feel like there was a third goalie for the Panthers who stepped in a couple times, but for some reason I just can't find his
You
name.
could be right.
I could
Yeah,
be I could be wrong as well. All right, well I'm just gonna completely ignore the fact that I even brought that up. But that it's another Spencer Knight I think is unprotected. He's a very young goaltender. He's a year older than I am, which just shows like the age there. And he performed really well for the Panthers. He actually beat the Lightning in Game 5 of the first round. So um,
yeah,
I mean that you could take that, but I think they probably go with somebody else. I'm not sure. Again, we'll just have to watch it unfold. Another big name on that list of unprotected players was you were talking about Malcolm Subban. Well, his brother PK Subban was also unprotected,
oh
so he's a big
wow,
name. And even if he hasn't been up to par performance wise, as opposed to like his peak seasons, he's still a big name. He's still a big name guy that hockey fans will come out to watch, and
yeah,
that's shirt sales, jersey sales. People will come out to see a Subban play hockey because
yeah.
I mean he's had great seasons before, so no reason he can't pick it up again in Seattle.
Yeah, that's one big factor of it. I think, the Kraken are obviously trying to get the best team possible, but Seattle is a team that hasn't had professional hockey in decades and they want to appeal to fans. I mean, I'm not saying they would take Patrick Marleau per se, but I think if they did, it would be a smart marketing tactic because Marleau played for the Seattle Thunderbirds semi-pro team. So I mean, it kind of, they want to get the factor of jersey sales and stuff like that. And I mean, James Neal was taken by the Vegas Golden Knights. And I think, that was big, even though he didn't last long there. But yeah, I think back to goalies real quick. I think, you brought up the point that, young goalies are definitely a thing that are on the table. And obviously for the Kraken, they probably want to generally choose a younger, team so they could, last longer if they have a Vegas type success story. But yeah, I think the thing is with goalies is like they last a really long time. So if you pick a goalie that's young and established, this guy could be on your franchise for a long time, kind of like a Carey Price thing. So I think, that could be in their best interest for sure.
Yeah, I just found out that I was right about the Florida Panthers thing. They started Chris Drager in game 2. So they played with 3 goalies in that one playoff series. So if you're looking for goalies, even if you need a backup, if I'm the Kraken, I'm looking at the Panthers roster. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I was doing that research. I was kind of like zoning out a little bit. What did you say about Vegas again? The Vegas signing?
Um, they got James Neal
Oh, right, right,
right away.
right. And he's been a
Yeah.
pretty big name for them. So
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. Like he isn't necessarily the best player, but and he's not on them anymore, but he like, his jersey sales shot up when he went to the Knights. So I think, part of it, yeah, is being the best team, but I think another part of it is this is a city that hasn't seen pro hockey in so long. You got to get these relevant players. And yeah, I think, getting some relevant players is definitely important. I think speaking of that, some other big names, Jeff Van Riemsdyk is unprotected from the Flyers.
ooh, okay.
Giordano from Calgary Flames. There's a lot more that are just up there that they very well could take. Max
Yeah.
Domi from
Oh, they'll
Columbus.
definitely take Domi from Columbus.
Yeah,
That's what I feel like.
yeah,
The Kraken they could take a lot of these big name guys, but you have to remember they also like every other team they have to stay under the salary cap.
right.
So,
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Like they could take some. I mean, we're gonna see some big names go. Max
yeah,
Domi, probably PK Subban, realistically Vladimir Tarasenko. I mean, just to
yeah,
name 3, I think most hockey fans are familiar with those 3 names.
yeah,
And they could very well be Seattle Kraken players in the coming
yeah.
season. So, any closing thoughts with this ahead of the expansion draft?
You know, it's going to be definitely exciting seeing these guys put on Kraken jerseys. It's going to be kind of, cool, bittersweet if it's a good player, especially, Yanni Gord for you if that ends up happening. For me, I'm not really going to be mad at all, no matter what happens, because Sharks aren't a very good team. We're not going to lose a big superstar. But, it's just going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm hoping the Sharks do good this year. And I think a big part of it is, keeping the core together, even though, a lot of people push for a rebuild. But yeah, you got any thoughts?
Uh, Alex Killorn did an interview not too long ago, and he was saying that he just straight up said Seattle, don't take me. Plus, he threw in some jokes too. He was saying like, I hurt my knee in the playoffs, so I probably won't be very good for you, because he wants to stay with Tampa. Alex Killorn loves Tampa, and so I it's just another reason I think they'll take Gord, because I mean, if Killorn's coming out publicly and saying Seattle, don't take me,
Yeah.
no, I think it'll be Gord. I can't imagine they take Killorn, or who was the other guy again? Palat. Okay,
Well,
so
yeah.
Palat, he's been a Bolt for a long time. They could take him. He's very skilled on the offense. He was fantastic for us these last 2 playoff runs. But either way, you were saying how, regardless of who they take, it won't be a big deal for you because the Sharks just aren't very much contenders right now. It's kind
Yeah.
of the opposite for me. Like I'm gonna hate it regardless, but again, I understand that it's the business side of the sport, and
Right.
we just simply can't keep all these guys together and still stay under the cap. And
For sure.
but you know what, man? I mean, not many people get to say that they win back-to-back cups. So regardless of what happens next season, I'm totally thankful for these last 2 runs the Bolts have had. It's been a hell of a ride. It's been really once in a lifetime, and while I wish we could go for the three-peat, it's not gonna happen. It's three-peat. It's never no team has ever three-peated in the salary cap era of the National Hockey League. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. But you know what? One can dream. One can dream. But we got our 2 cups. We certainly silenced the haters after getting swept at Columbus a couple years ago and responding with 2 straight cup wins. I mean, that's like the biggest response ever. But no, I'm thankful for it, and this is probably where we see the team start to get dismantled a little bit. But we'll
Yeah.
see what happens. We'll see what happens. Perhaps in a month or two we could do a preview video for the upcoming NHL season, thoughts, like maybe like Stanley Cup predictions. um, I think I
Yeah.
already have my prediction, but I won't reveal it just yet. uh, but yeah, I mean, I think that covers everything. Seattle draft is tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and we get to see the Kraken build their team. So
Yep.
that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching. Link to my boy Kasey's channel down in my description, and we will see you whenever we see you again. Peace out.
So, guys.